Hi again then guys, and welcome to another circuit-based setup on Gran Turismo Sport, and this time we've got another Group 3 car build, and this is with or without balance of performance. It really makes no difference. Of course, if you have more power it will be quicker, but you don't have to. You could have less power even, and you can still use the tune. So, the car in question is of course the Audi R8 LMS, and this is a car which I've had a number of requests to do a tune for. I know a lot of people find stuff like the R8 to be tricky to tune. As I said recently in the Rivals match between this, the Viper and the Huracan, the handling has definitely changed since the last couple of updates. Now as you can see I have upgraded it, but as I mentioned just now, you don't need to do that. Traction control I've got turned off, but of course that varies from driver to driver. We've got it on racing hards just to see what it can do in a real scenario, and of course again with soft tyres it will be even quicker. As far as suspension, I've dropped the ride height to 65mm on the front, 75 on the back. As far as the frequency, we've got that on 3.1 front and rear. Anti-roll we've got on 7 and 6 respectively. The compression on the dampers we've got on 57. Then the rebound on 86. I have got a little bit of camber, which is often helpful with a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, especially a very powerful one like this is. So I've got 1 degree. You could take that lower if you want to run it with none, by all means. If you want to run it with more, again, that's absolutely fine. It's designed to be as tailored as possible to each individual driver. That's why many of my tunes are very, very open to change and interpretation. That's the whole point of it. So, we've got neutral toe as well. As far as the aerodynamics, I've got that as high as possible on downforce. Again, that'll depend on the driver, of course, how much of a challenge you want, and also how much top-end acceleration, and of course top speed you need on a given track. At the moment on the game, we don't really have any tracks which need crazy top-end speed, not usually for a car like this anyway. You've got the Tokyo tracks, but not many people, I don't think, race Group 3 cars there. I'm sure some do, but they tend to be more technical circuits. When they add the Le Mans, if they add the Le Mans, then of course that will apply more. As far as the diff, I've got it halfway on initial torque, and then as low as possible for both acceleration and braking. But if you want to change that, or if you know a setup that's better for you, of course, change that around, or just mess around if you want to, try something different. You can always come back to this again. Then, as far as the gearbox, I'd recommend the fully customized transmission with, as you can see, an auto setting of 205, because this isn't a top speed tune. It's primarily about the handling. And then for the individual gears, I haven't actually touched them. I've literally just left everything as is. So as I said, it is more predominantly, by far more predominantly, a handling build. So you could give it a gearbox setup if you want, but due to the fact that this is designed to work with pretty much any power, I've left that very open. So just set it to whatever you need. If you don't know anything about setting up gears, then as a general rule, without going super specific, because you don't need to, then if you have more power, say the power that I'm running, almost 700 horses, then you'll want longer gearing, generally speaking. Again, it will depend on the track. With less and less power, you can go closer and closer with the gears. So especially on the final drive, you can take that ratio higher. But that's it for the tune overall. And using the same lap times that we did in yesterday's Rivals match, let's actually take it out on the track, and of course, for those who didn't watch that video, see what it can do. So, as I said, this is the same footage in the same lap times which I ran yesterday in the 3-way V10 engine Rivals match, but as you could see in that video as well, this Audi in general does have plenty of potential to, at the very least, keep up with other cars in the class, front-engine cars, other mid-engine cars like the Lambo, and in some cases, of course, beat them. As far as when to use this car, I would recommend making use of the R8, more so on tracks which have more of a high speed flow, corners which are quite curvy, where you can truly get a high average speed and flow through those corners, rather than a lot of start-stop driving. And although on this track there is quite a lot of start-stop stuff, with very, very low speed corners and hairpins and that kind of stuff, it can work here, of course, but it's a much better car for more open circuits. So if you bear that in mind and tailor that, of course, to you, then hopefully you'll do well with it. And of course, if you do enjoy this tune, there are plenty more which you can check out here on the channel. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.